All right, today we are going to talk about least common multiple word problems. The least common multiple is the smallest multiple two or more numbers have in common. And I want us to focus in on the words smallest and multiple, not to get confused with greatest and factor. In fact, a multiple is the product or result of multiplying numbers together. If I look at the multiples of 6, I have 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, and so on and so on. In fact, multiples never end. These are the results I get when I multiply 6 by any number. Well, these are the methods we can use to find the LCM, listing the multiples and prime factorization. The first thing I want to do is list the multiples of all the given numbers and circle the LCM. This is really good for small numbers. Or I can do the prime factorization, where I find the prime factorization of all the numbers. I list all the prime factors below it, and then I multiply a prime factor from each column. This is really good for bigger numbers where I don't know their multiples off the top of my head. Well, since we're talking about word problems, we need to know some key words to look for in our sentences. Words such as fewest, least, minimum, anything that requires repetition, smallest, when something will happen, or when some people will meet again. So let's look at our first example. It says Avery goes to the library every 5 days. Cameron goes every 6 days. They saw each other at the library one day. After how many days will they both be at the library again? Well, I noticed that 5 and 6 are smaller numbers, and it's easy for me to remember their multiplication facts, so I'm just going to list the factors. And I also noticed that be at the library again, that lets me know I need to use the LCM because it's asking when it will happen again. So let's start with the multiples of 6. I have 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and 42. And I only listed these because I think I might catch a multiple of 5 that they already have in common. The multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Well, as I'm looking through, I noticed that they have 30 in common. I can multiply 5 and 6 by some number and get to 30. Well, I don't see anything before that, so that lets me know that, in fact, 30 is their least common multiple. Let's look at another example. It says Candace is buying hot dogs and buns for a picnic. Hot dogs come in packs of 36, buns come in packs of 24. Candace wants the same number of hot dogs as buns. What is the fewest number of packs she can buy? 24 and 36, they seem pretty large. Well, before I do that, what lets me know that I need to find the LCM? The word fewest. That lets me know I'm looking for the LCM. And because 36 and 24 are kind of big to know their multiples, I'm going to use prime factorization. Well, if I'm looking at the number 36, I know I can break it down into two numbers. And I'm going to use 6 times 6. I'm noticing that I'm breaking down the entire number 36, not the individual digits. Well, I know 6 times 6, they're both composite numbers, so I have to break those down even more. I know 6 can be broken down into 2 times 3. Well, what do I know about 2 times 3? I know that both of those numbers are prime, so I can circle them and be done. And then I can do the same thing again because I broke it down into 6 times 6. So I'm done with the number 36. Now let's break down 24. I'm going to break it down into 3 times 8. This is not my only option, but it's just the option that I chose. Well, from the start, I see that 3, and I know it's a prime number, so I can circle it. I know 8 is composite, so I have to keep going. I'm going to break 8 down into 2 times 4. I see 2 and I know that 2 is prime, so I can circle it. But I know 4 can be broken down because it's composite. So I'm going to break 4 down into 2 times 2. And what I know about 2 is that it's prime. So I can circle those and be done. Now I want to move on to steps 3 and 4, where I list out all my prime factors and then multiply one from each column. So I have my factors, or my prime factors of 36. And the same for 24. Notice that I put the last 2 of 24 in its own column. That is very important. So now I want to take a prime factor from each column and multiply it together. So I have 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 2. Notice how I took a prime factor from each column. Then I'm going to multiply them together. Well, I know 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 3 is 36. And 36 times 2 gives me an LCM of 72. Now it's time for you to try. A store sells pencils in packs of 10, eraser in packs of 12. Today, the same number of pencils and erasers were sold. What is the least number of pencils and erasers that the store could have sold?